Hi, everybody. My name is Dave Schade. I'm the director of your Alaska Division of Agriculture. So welcome to another Facebook Live on Thursday. Glad to be back. I was out for a few weeks doing legislative work, working in Juneau, then back to DC for NASDA, working with my fellow directors of ag and seeing the congressional delegation ag staff. It was a great few weeks, hard work moving ag forward. So I know we had some great programs while I was gone, but we're back. And today I am thrilled that we've got Dr. Steve Brown here. He is an ag extension professor over at the university, teaches master gardener, horticulture classes, is a fantastic resource. And so today we asked Steve to come in because spring is coming and there are things to do to get ready. So I'm going to turn it over and you can further introduce yourself and we'll go through the stuff today. If, as we're going along, if it's okay with you, Steve, we'll have people put questions in the chat box. And then whenever you're ready, you want to take a break and answer questions, we can do that if that works for you.
Works for me.
Perfect.
Well, anyway, to just continue introducing myself, I'm Steve Brown. I'm the Mat-Su Copper River District Agriculture Horticulture Agent, but I also serve as the statewide program leader for the Master Gardener Program. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But like you said, spring is here. And one of the important things to focus upon is gardening fundamentals. And I'm going to talk about one of the fundamentals that's most often ignored by gardeners, and that's soil sampling. Only about 5% of all gardeners across the entire country ever sample their soil to see what kind of nutrient levels they have. And let me tell you, if you want a successful garden, getting a soil sample, bring the results to us at the Cooperative Extension Service so we can tell you what the numbers mean and then make a customized fertilizer recommendation to you will make all the difference in your garden. Just before the program started, I was telling someone that I've got a friend here in Palmer who every year I was like, you need to do a soil sample. You need to do a soil sample. And he said, no, my garden always does great. It's fine. Well, finally one year he broke down and he did a soil sample. He got the results back. We told him what the numbers meant and how he should fertilize and other things he should do based upon that soil sample. And at the end of that summer, he came back to me. He's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea the poor results I was getting because I was so used to what I had before. So anyway, what I wanted to do is tell you how to take a soil sample and where to send it. It's a pretty simple process, but it's important that you do it correctly. The first step is wait till the soil is not frozen. And you want to go out to your garden. And we'll pretend that the surface of this desk is my raised bed garden. Okay. What you want to do is you want to take a soil sample that's going to represent the entire garden. So what not to do is to go to the middle of that garden plot, take a soil sample down to about 6 inches and turn that in. Because I guarantee you that one spot is where a raven flew over and pooped, and you're going to get a false result back. What you want to do is get a bucket, okay, and go all around the garden taking samples and put each one of those samples in the bucket, mix it all up. Then you'll pull about 1 cup to 2 cups of that soil out. And the best thing to do is to put it on your garage floor for the night to let it dry out. Okay. Or you can pour it out in your house. The laboratories really like it if you don't send them wet soil. And so that just speeds up the process. Now, unfortunately, the earthquake destroyed the only soil lab in Alaska that was located at the Matanuska Experiment Farm here in Palmer. It's a sad thing. I've never seen so much broken glass in all my life. And unfortunately, the cost of the university rebuilding that lab during our current budget situation was just, it wasn't going to happen. But the good news for you all as the public is there's some great alternatives. And we'll post a link for this at the end of the program. But I recommend Brookside Laboratories in Ohio. Okay. The reason I recommend them is not every soil lab can handle Alaskan soils because we are typically very acidic soils. And most of the soil labs in the Western United States are set up for alkaline soils.
Oh, okay.
So, but Brookside's different. They specialize in acidic soils. And another great thing about Brookside is they're also donors to the Alaska State Fair. So
Oh, we like that.
we like that too. A soil sample costs $19. You can get on their website. It's blink.com. That's BLINC.com. And you want to request soil test package S001AN. And that's that they offer hundreds of different soil test packages.
Okay.
And that's the one that's most appropriate for gardeners because it also helps us calculate the amount of lime that a gardener needs to put down in their garden. So anyway, you get on their website. Brookside likes to have you contact them through their little text box on the website, and you tell them that you want this particular test, and they'll send you back instructions on how to take the sample, where to send it. You send it to them, and they will have the results back to you in 24 to 48 hours.
Wow, that's great.
Well, and that's much quicker than the university could do it. If you turned it into our lab here in Palmer, when we still had a lab, it would be at least a week before we had it turned around. Well, anyway, when you get the results back, they will email it to you. It'll be a sheet full of numbers and chemistry symbols that for most people will mean absolutely nothing, okay? A lot of times people get the results of their soil tests back and they get mad because I don't know what these numbers mean.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what that's where the Cooperative Extension Service steps in. If you send us the results, we will tell you in plain English what the results mean. So for example, we'll tell you you're low in nitrogen, you're high in phosphorus, your pH is really acidic. We'll put all of that in English, okay? And it's not enough to just know I'm high in nitrogen or I'm low in phosphorus or my pH is bad. We'll tell you what to do to make everything better.
Good.
So what we do is we keep an inventory of locally available fertilizers, both organic fertilizer and conventional chemical fertilizer. You can choose whichever one you would like to use. There's a pros and cons of each. We would prefer that you go organic, but if you choose not to, we're just as happy to give you a recommendation for that as well. So for example, we'll tell you, well, you need to apply 6 pounds of 832-16 fertilizer per 100 square feet, or you need to apply 5 pounds of bone meal or blood meal per 100 square feet. And the goal is to get your garden up to optimal speed this year. And that's really all there is to it. What I'll do is post my direct phone number in my email. My direct line is 745-3639. And my email address is scbrown4@alaska.edu. And again, there's no charge for this. This is your taxpayer money at work, okay? There's someone like me in every county in the United States that does this exact same thing. And it's free everywhere because it contributes to food security and it contributes to you being a successful gardener. And that's what all of the agricultural universities in the country want to see happen.
That's great. So do we have any questions there, John, to start with?
Well, you just answered one of them, which was, is there a cost associated with sending soil tests down to Ohio? And it sounds like the answer is no. Is that right?
It costs $19 for the laboratory to conduct the test, but for us to tell you what the results mean and make a recommendation, there's no charge.
Excellent. And then another question, is there soil testing available for lawn soils?
Yes, it's the same test. I'll just say this, lawns are my specialty. Okay.
Cool.
Turf is something that really gets me excited. Well, I can make a lawn recommendation too. And let me tell you, when it comes to lawn recommendations, I get a lot of pleasure out of knowing that someone has got the best looking lawn in their neighborhood. We also have a great publication on creating and maintaining perfect lawns here in Alaska. We even have a publication on grassing up gravel runways if you're a pilot to prevent damage to aircraft.
We'll have to make sure those links go on this recording when we do that. That'd be awesome. That is really neat. So any other questions?
Well, I want to put in a plug here on coming up on April 2nd is the Alaska Master Gardeners Conference. Okay, it happens every 4 years and it travels around the state. This year it's going to happen at Evangelos in Wasilla. The early bird registration lasts until March 15th and it's $60 and includes lunch at Evangelos. After that, it's $75, which is still a good bargain to have lunch at Evangelos for that. And we've got a variety of speakers from all over the state. And we have a keynote speaker who is one of the top horticulture ag extension agents in the country flying in from Tennessee. Her name's Melody Rose.
Wonderful.
So we're excited about it. And if you want to register for that conference, just go out to matsumastergardeners.com. Again, that's matsumastergardeners.com. And you'll see the little registration tab on their webpage. You do not have to be a master gardener to attend the conference. The conference is also geared towards the new or new to Alaska gardener. Now, there's going to be information in there that's great for people of all skill levels, but a lot of the presentations are, how do we garden successfully in Alaska? And the truth is, Alaska is one of the easiest places to garden because we have, relatively speaking, so few diseases and so few insects.
Yeah, we do have some advantages and really nice long days. So you can get out there and do your stuff. So that is really cool. And one thing, Steve, I know that there's a lot of interest in the gardens from our Microgrant program. And so I would encourage people that are working and get their grants to set up their personal gardens to use you guys as resources as they're trying to figure it out. Because yeah, you just put your soil in, but is it really what you think it is? So I think that fits to our overall food security strategy, as you mentioned, to work with all the different agencies. And these resources are out there at a sometimes free, but usually relatively reasonable costs. And you can double your output, triple your output with the right soils and the right location and things. And so I'm assuming that those are the kind of things your publications help people have a good idea with as well.
We do. And again, it's easy to garden in Alaska if you know the tricks for Alaska. And that's what our publications are all about. We've got all kinds of tips on how to make raised beds, how to increase soil temperature, how to protect from certain types of insects without using pesticides.
Great. So what else do you have to talk about today? I always give you guys full range of things. You guys do so much work, and we've had people come in and talk about composting and the other different kind of things. So I know you do such a great job with the soils and that. So what else for a new gardener would you suggest that they do to get started in the right direction so they're successful? Because if you're not successful, you might not try it the next year, or likely won't.
Well, starting here pretty quick, we'll be doing a series of gardening programs. Those will be on Zoom, and some of them may be in person as well, but most certainly they'll be on Zoom. And the big one, I don't have a date for it yet, but it's called Introduction to Alaskan Gardening. And it's got all the tips and tricks to be a successful gardener here in Alaska. And it's worth attending even if you've been a gardener for a long time. One of the things we've discovered is a lot of people will try using gardening techniques that worked well in, say, Kansas, where they were from, but it's a completely different ball game up here. So there's some ins and outs. An important part of it is we're explaining to people who are building a new garden for the first time where to get soil and how to amend that soil to make it as productive as possible. I will say at the end of March, this is kind of related to gardening, but we have a special program called Chicken University, where we're teaching people how to raise a backyard flock in Alaska. It's a really, really fun program. I teach most of it through funny stories of me as a 8-year-old 4-H'er, and chickens were my first 4-H project.
Okay.
So we've got stories about how we smuggled chickens into school and things like that, and explain why if Susan Butcher can take a sled dog to the summit of Denali, well, I want to take a chicken. And anyway, there's no cost for that course, and it basically explains how you can raise a backyard flock successfully in Alaska.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, right now we're having bird flu problems in the lower 48. And so, one thing that we really want people to do is to pay attention to importing, to where, make sure you have good, solid, disease-free plants and animals as you're importing, and reach out and talk to the experts in those different fields so that we're not, we're relatively disease and pest free. And as part of the division's mission, we're trying to keep it that way. With invasives and other problems, people don't realize that you can bring some diseases on your flowers and different things that could get into the gardens and into our agriculture crops. So, you've got a lot of resources. So anything along those lines to point out?
Well, I will say this, here about 4 years ago, we were very fortunate to have a veterinary student from Tufts University in Massachusetts. He came up and spent the entire summer doing surveys of backyard flocks across the entire state of Alaska. And one of the great things he discovered is of all the 50 states, we are the most disease-free. There's a lot of diseases here, but relatively speaking, our chickens had fewer diseases than any of the other states. And we want to keep it that way.
Right, exactly.
And part of this program, we also talk about how to identify some of the worst diseases out there, and how to deal with some things that people think are diseases that are not.
Oh, okay.
So we, back a number of years ago, we had a lady in Eagle River who was about to kill her entire flock because she thought her chickens had a disease. And of course, if you get on the internet and you research diseases, you always come back with the worst disease that could possibly be found. Fortunately, she called us before she dispatched her flock, and we were able to explain to her that her chickens had gone broody.
Oh, is that all?
There was nothing wrong with them at all. They were doing what they were supposed to do. But when they go broody, they don't get off the nest,
right,
and things like that.
And she was like, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, well, and that is really one of the advantages and one of the reasons why we try to support Ag Extension and what you guys do, because we lose those services, and a lot of times we don't get them back. And I think in this day and age of trying to build, more and more local production, more and more food security in these communities, what you guys do is extremely important.
Well, I do want to brag. The Cooperative Extension Service was started in 1914, okay, and its job was to work with the state's agricultural universities and with the local ag experiment station. And I'm pleased to say that by World War II, the United States was the world's agriculture superpower. And that was due to extension agents and the 4-H program helping people learn how to grow things more efficiently and better.
And we still do a fantastic job for ourselves and for the world. So do we have any other questions there, John, or we've answered them?
All right. Well,
all right,
David, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure, Steve. And again, thanks to you and all the other fellow agronomists and folks out there in the university system as well. We really appreciate your support. We love when you guys come in and talk to us and the community about what you do and how do we support. I mean, this is, as state agencies, our job is to support the community, and you guys do a fantastic job. We really appreciate that support of us and what you do, and really enjoy the collaboration. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, guys, until next week, have a good time. Hopefully this weather will settle down. I don't think it's quite time for spring, and I don't want people to get started too early and then we have another freeze. So people go, are we done? I don't think so. So don't get too antsy, but you can get your starts. You can start looking at that. I know there's some programs out there to kind of tell you when to start growing the different kind of plants. We've had that on before. Look at that information. It's going to be on our website. It's going to be on the university website. Pick up the phone, send an email. We all like to support what you're trying to do. So with that, thanks. Have a great day.